you talk about this gap year, what made you decide to do a gap year, and how do you think that helped you going to Stanford or any university, but in your case, Stanford, as a more mature person?
Yeah, I'm definitely big proponent of gap years. Like anytime anybody asks me about it and they're like high school age, I'm like,
Yeah.
take one.
Yeah.
Obviously different circumstances for different people, but one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it was something I decided before even applying to college. I kind of knew I'd graduate to a gap year and then apply during my gap year. I think functionally that made a lot of sense for me because in the academic setting I was in, I really wasn't getting a lot of support on my college applications anyways because it was the independent learning center. It's not really set up for students to matriculate to college necessarily. And it's like we have access to like the general public school counselor, but like that's kind of it. Like there's not
Mhm.
really much guidance through the application process. And I kind of also knew that like the place that I was at, did not feel like home for me,
Yeah.
and I had a lot more home building to do before I went to college, and that had to happen for me outside of my pretty small Jewish community in LA. And I moved to DC, as I said, and, having that opportunity to kind of, like, live by myself and, like, it's an internship, it's not, like, necessarily the same as a full-time job, but kind of, like, live in the world functionally as an adult gave me a lot of that kind of independence and confidence in my skills to kind of meet my needs that definitely transferred over into college. And because I was no longer in high school, I had so much time to pursue those interests and really, really dive into them and kind of like turn them from, just like more academic projects I'm writing essays about to like actual actionable projects that happen like in a institutional setting or like more professional based setting. So it's like when I would be, maybe in high school like writing a paper, not even, that's like more of a college thing to do. I don't know,
Mm.
reading about like mental health policy, like actually working in the space of mental health policy is a very different thing to do.
I completely agree. And, for myself, I spent a year at multiple community colleges before I
Hmm.
went to Penn,
Yeah.
and I felt so much better prepared to handle my transition to Penn from an emotional and, intellectual standpoint than I would have right out of high school. And so I think, gap years, community college, there's a lot of opportunities to be able to go slow to go fast.
Yeah.
Everyone's in a rush these days, but there's no race here. The goal is to have the most fulfilling, impactful life possible, and whatever fulfillment and fun and happiness looks to you, it may be different than someone else, but finding that fulfillment at 30, 35, 40 is not requirement of you being at X or Y step at 20, 21, 22. It's about getting into the best situation possible. And, one thing I always recognize, so I played hockey and baseball growing up. Some of my hockey teammates who did a gap year and then do a gap year and they, get to go play hockey at Harvard or one of these incredible schools, far better opportunity than someone rushing out of high school to go to somewhere that may not be Harvard. And of course, there's a million great schools out there. You don't have to go to Harvard or Stanford to be successful, but your opportunities are much greater depending on what school you go to. And that's just a fact of being. And so I'm, so inspired for your journey and love that you were able to learn so much in your gap year and then have such a great experience at Stanford so far.